So I want to make 2025 a big year for my watercolor journey, and I've been reflecting what went well this year and the progress I've made and how can I improve my skills even further next year. So in this video, I want to share 5 things that I've decided I'm going to commit to, and hopefully they will be ideas that you can get on board with as well. Whether just beginning with watercolor or you're already further ahead and you want to level up as well. These 5 things are pretty practical, pretty actionable, and I hope they inspire you to do the same, or at least 1 or 2 of them. So let's dive in. The first one is immersion. I like to jump around a little bit, and nothing wrong with variety, but I might go from landscapes to seascapes to urban scenes to still lifes to birds, all kind of in a rapid succession. So this year I want to stick a little bit longer with a particular subject or technique so that I can really get proficient at it before I move on to the next thing. And I've already started doing that. I've done a little bit on cars just recently, and that's really helped me just to go from sketching to studying to then using it inside of a painting. So I'm going to commit to immersion and really understand the topic or technique for a little bit longer so that I can get real confidence in using it in my paintings. Number 2 is more consistent practice. I know, we've all heard it and we all know that short but regular practice is much better than painting for 6 hours once a week. And I'm guilty of that too. Life gets in the way. It's really hard. So this year I'm going to commit to shorter but more frequent practice. And that can mean just a pen and a bit of paper for sketching every day, because that's obviously critically important. If you want to do better paintings, you need to be able to draw better. But I'm going to commit to shorter studies more frequently, and for that I often use a sketchbook and just do these postcard-sized sketches. So I'm going to commit to doing that way more often. And if you're like me and you're wondering what should I paint, I've only got 15 minutes. Well, I got you covered because I've put together a list of exercises that I am going to follow myself. And I've created a newsletter for that. So every Friday, if you sign up for it, you can get an exercise in your inbox that you can then practice during the week. Sign up link is in the description below. I'd love to have you on board, but I'm written this for myself. So I'm going to send that to myself every Friday as well. Number 3 is painting outdoors. I find it incredibly challenging, but equally incredibly rewarding to be outside in the landscape and painting from life. And, you probably heard it before, most professional artists will say that as well, that you learn the most from painting from real life, get out of the studio, into the world. Now, I'm the first one to admit I really struggle getting out of my comfort zone. I've got perfect lighting here, perfect weather conditions. I've got all of my tools at my disposal in the studio. The light never changes. And I haven't really been successful with painting outdoors, and that really bugs me. So I'm committing to painting more outdoors and get much better at plein air painting. That's one of my goals and my commitments for this year. I also really don't have any excuses. I live in a beautiful part of the world. I've got every subject in front of me that I could possibly hope for. And I've also got all of the equipment, and it all fits neatly into a backpack. So I can just pick up my backpack and walk out the front door. And I've done a video on my plein air setup. It's pretty minimal. It's very compact. So there's a link in the description to that video as well, if you're wondering about what you should take on an outdoor excursion. Number 4, limit my materials. I have more brushes and paints and palettes then you could poke a stick at, as we say in Australia. Shopping for art supplies is half the fun of being an artist, and you got to try things out to know what you like, what you don't. So I get that too. I'm going to try and narrow it down and stick with one paper, a set of brushes, and a palette for much longer. When we change our materials every time we paint, different paper, different brushes, etc., it's really hard to measure the progress because you don't know, is that the paper or is that my abilities that's changed? I'm going to commit to Sonderson Waterford 300 GSM cold press, which is my go-to paper and has been for quite some time actually. I've tried different things, come back to this one. I've even made my own sketchbook with that paper so that I can paint in it wherever I go. Selected a number of brushes here. There's probably a couple more that will be added to this, and occasionally I use a specialist brush, but I really love painting with Chinese calligraphy brushes, so I'm going to use them more consistently. They just really suit my style of painting. I love working with them. And as for the colors in my palette, I haven't quite decided yet. I still got some empty spots here and there. I want to mix it up a little bit for next year, try out some new pigments. That's it. I'll lock in the brushes and pigments and paper, but I can reduce the amount of variables and can really measure the progress. And then number 5 is to further develop my style. I know I have probably already got a little bit of a style. It's like handwriting. You can't really help it but paint and draw in a certain way. But, there's a vision in my head of a painting, and then there's my abilities, and they don't always quite match up. I collect a lot of references. Whenever a painting from another artist speaks to me, I will put it in a folder somewhere. Now, let me quickly show you what I do with those references and how that's going to help me develop my style. Let's take this painting by Rod Tripp Gardner, a Tasmanian artist that I follow on Instagram, and I love his work. So I just grab a screenshot from Instagram in this case, and then I'll copy it across into my whiteboarding tool. There's a free one on the Mac, but you can choose any of the free ones online as well. And then I just make a pinboard with all the paintings that I like and the styles of artists that I like. And once I have a number of them on that board, I can start writing out what do I actually like about a particular artist or a particular style of painting. I like a lot of white space, calligraphic brush strokes. That's why I use the Chinese brushes and the alla prima style, not too many complicated layers, and then also some simplicity and realism. And now I can come back to this board anytime I like and remind myself about the style that I'd like to develop further. So the more we paint, obviously the more opportunities we'll have to practice that own style. But it also means being maybe a little bit more selective about the kind of tutorials that I will follow and the kind of references that I will use for my own paintings, to be really intentional about that style that I'm trying to develop, to inject that into every attempt of painting as I go through next year. That's it. That's the 5 things I'm going to commit to: immersion, more frequent practice, leaving my studio to paint outdoors, be more constrained in the materials that I used, and 5 is to develop my own style even further. I hope these also inspire you, or at least one of them. Let me know in the comments which one resonated with you and which ones did I miss. Thanks for watching, and have a great, successful, artistic 2025.